Aerial footage from the north goes viral.
It's like they're telling their friends, get ready to run.
A view from above the sea reveals a strange spectacle.
These are huge animals in extremely shallow water. This has got to be risky.
An eye in the sky tracks a cunning invader on a path of destruction.
They are dastardly renowned as the most notorious villains.
And drones reveal a high-speed, high-stakes chase.
This drone footage has captured something bizarre that we've never seen before.
Everywhere we look on our planet, there's evidence of the past. In nature, in buildings, in relics. Each holds a mystery that technology now allows us to see from above. What new secrets are revealed? The animal kingdom, a place of majesty, ferocity, and wonder. Here, some of the world's greatest mysteries abound. Bizarre spectacles by the creatures we share our planet with today. They can't tell us what they're doing. But a view from above may offer clues. The vast tundra of the Northern Hemisphere is home to a fabled creature, known for whizzing through the sky with a man in red.
I'm not exactly sure how reindeer fly. That's a mystery that science hasn't yet solved.
But they do something else that's just as cool. Look at this.
Whoa, this is wild.
At first glance, the footage is comical. But these reindeer aren't running for our viewing pleasure.
Why are they stampeding in a circle?
What would make them do something so bizarre?
Whenever you see an animal doing something that looks weird to us, it almost always has something to do with courtship or mating.
Case in point, hippo love.
Do you know how a male hippo attracts a mate? It lures her with his scent, and not in a subtle cologne kind of way. It involves a circular tail motions and explosive diarrhea.
Imagine people did that. It's just so funny. Nature has all these great hints about dating strategies that humans just never tried.
Could this circling stampede be a strangely elaborate mating dance?
I've heard of a love triangle, but a love circle, is that even a thing?
Perhaps there's a clue off the west coast of Ireland, where a view from above the sea reveals a mesmerizing swirl of basking sharks.
Just when you think you've seen everything.
Those sharks aren't moving as fast as the reindeer, but they are definitely spinning in a circle.
Basking sharks are the second largest fish on our planet, surpassed only by the whale shark.
Basking sharks can grow up to 12 meters long, and they have this huge mouth up to a meter wide.
They swim along with their mouths wide open, filtering food out of the water.
It can look kind of intimidating, but these sharks only eat microscopic animals called zooplankton.
Despite their commanding presence, they aren't always easy to find or study.
They're one of the most elusive sharks out there. Not much is known about their life cycle.
But technology is starting to change that.
Scientists are spying on them with satellite tags and drones, and they really hit the jackpot with this footage.
What exactly are the sharks doing here?
The official term is a courtship taurus, but you can think of it as basically a speed dating event.
A whole bunch of sexually mature basking sharks gather in one spot to get to know each other.
They swim in this slow circle, checking each other out.
If you look at how that shark is nodding its head, I mean, it seems as though it likes what it sees, right? You look at this, it's hard not to think about the way a human nods their head and says, that looks pretty good. But we don't really know what this shark is communicating to the other shark.
The one thing scientists can say with a high level of confidence is that these cyclones are how the sharks figure out who they want to mate with.
Are these reindeer cyclones in the Northern Hemisphere similar? A swirl of romance? Or are love circles just a basking shark thing?
there are definitely other animals that use circling in courtship.
Sharp-tailed grouses will show off their moves on a group dance floor.
The males do a little twirl while quickly stamping their feet, all while the ladies watch from the sidelines.
If a female likes what she sees, she'll mate with her dancer of choice.
Male pufferfish also use circles, but in a slightly different way.
They create these ornate patterns on the seafloor by flapping their fins.
They can spend 9 exhausting days working on their art, hoping it'll catch the eye of a lady.
There's plenty of evidence that shows circles do play an important role in animal matchmaking. So is this mystery solved? Are reindeer spinning to find a mate?
Circles do help some animals pair up, but not reindeer.
The love lives of reindeer are well documented, and these hypnotizing circles have nothing to do with their love stories.
We know this isn't a love-crazed mating dance, but you know what else makes animals do strange things? Food.
Across the world, in marshy wetland habitats, you can find northern shoveler ducks swirling with their friends.
This is a really interesting group feeding technique.
By swimming together in a circle, the ducks create this vortex in the water that stirs up sediment and pulls nutrients closer to the surface where they can eat it.
You know what they say, teamwork makes the dream work.
It's a clever circular strategy, and it's not the only one.
American pelicans often work together to herd small fish into shallow water.
Once they've got them where they want them, the pelicans create a trap with their bodies.
They form a ring around the fish, bodies tightly packed together so that the fish can't escape.
Could reindeer cyclones be another example of animals creating a circle to secure a meal?
If you look at these cyclones from ground level, you can see that there's no eating on the run happening here.
Okay, so they're not doing it for mating and they're not doing it for food. So could they be reacting to something in their environment?
Across the globe, animals have been acting out of the ordinary as they try to adapt to climate change and habitat loss.
Leatherback turtles are now swimming nearly twice as far as they normally would for food because of rising ocean temperatures.
Bears are losing their habitat to deforestation, which is forcing them to enter human spaces.
Those are just 2 examples, but there are plenty more.
Could these cyclones be a new behavior? A stress response to our changing planet?
This isn't new. Vikings wrote about it hundreds of years ago, long before global temperatures began to skyrocket.
Descriptions of this behavior have existed in books, but very few people knew about it until it was recorded from above.
In 2019, drone footage got posted online and the search term reindeer cyclones started trending.
So, if this isn't a new thing triggered by the stresses of our changing planet, what else could it be?
It may not be climate or habitat-related stress, but there are plenty of other things that put animals on edge.
Avoiding predators is at the top of that list.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but if you want to avoid something, shouldn't you run away from it instead of running in a circle?
There may be an answer off the east coast of Australia, where fish do form cyclones for protection.
When fish sense a predator, they'll group together and start spinning in what's called a bait ball.
You know that saying, there's safety in numbers? That's the premise here.
By joining together and rotating in a tight sphere, a few things happen. The fish look bigger, the swirling mass can confuse predators, and the fewest number of fish are exposed to harm.
This survival strategy is used by fish that live out in the open water. They don't have rocks or seaweed or a reef that they can hide behind, so they all come together and try to hide behind each other.
If we look at the tundra landscape around the reindeer, it's pretty sparse. Not many places to hide here either.
For predators, a wide open space is usually a huge advantage.
Is that why reindeer are banding together? Like fish with nowhere to hide, do these reindeer cyclones provide safety in numbers?
This is an anti-predator defense strategy.
Predators that hunt herd animals like reindeer, they try to separate a young or weak member from the group, making it easier for them to land a kill.
Some people think that when the herd animals band together, the colors of their coats makes this kind of camouflage, where one coat blends into the next, and it's really hard to figure out where one animal starts and the other one ends.
The speed and size of the swirl can intimidate and confuse a predator.
Being in the middle of the cyclone offers the most protection, so often the young and vulnerable get that primo spot.
It's amazing that something that is so mesmerizing to watch, something that is so beautiful, has such a practical purpose for these animals.
There's a stretch of water along North America's Pacific coast, between southern British Columbia and Baja, Mexico, where drones have captured giants, causing quite a stir.
What is happening here? Why are those whales in a cloud of muck?
Is it rubbing on the ground?
It's not really apparent exactly what the whale's doing here. It seems to be rolling around and disturbing the seafloor, but why?
These are gray whales, a species that can grow to about 15 meters in length and tip the scales at over 40,000 kilograms. They spend most of their lives in small groups, in clear, shallow water.
These gray whales come really close to the shore, and that creates an amazing opportunity to study them.
For decades, researchers have been watching these whales, but it's only in the past few years that a secret spy window into their lives has been thrown wide open, thanks to drones.
With drones, you can see so much more. Historically, you'd be on a boat or on shore and could only observe whales when they broke the surface.
But with drones, you can watch from above and you can see just about everything they're doing.
So what are they doing here?
I've seen a lot of whales all over the world, in close proximity, but I've never seen a whale do this.
Why would a whale rub against the ocean floor like that?
There may be a clue in the cool Arctic waters of Cumberland Sound, Nunavut. Here, the curiosities of another mammoth sea creature are being decoded from above.
Bowhead whales are fascinating. They're the longest living mammals on our planet.
They can live to be more than 200 years old.
Bowheads and gray whales are both baleen whales. That's a group that's united by having this filtering organ called baleen.
It's this giant frill of keratin bristles that they use like a trap.
A baleen whale feeds by filling its mouth with lots of water that contains all kinds of organisms like fish and crustaceans. And then what it does is it takes its tongue to push all the water back out through the baleen like a strainer. It's just like when you drain the water out of your mac and cheese, it leaves the good stuff behind.
The baleen is just one thing that bowheads and gray whales have in common.
Bowheads have been filmed rolling around in shallow water too.
And this drone footage has been used to solve an ancient mystery.
For hundreds of years, bowheads were observed from the shore. They'd come into the shallow Arctic Sound, and local indigenous people would see them turn on their side.
They'd have a flipper or a tail fluke up in the air, but no one knew exactly why they were doing it.
In 2014, this puzzling behavior was filmed from above for the first time. And what scientists discovered was shocking.
They could see that the whales were rolling around on boulders and that as they rubbed against the rocks, these big chunks of dead skin were peeling away from their bodies.
They're using the rocks to exfoliate. It's like a trip to the spa.
Is that why gray whales are rolling against the seabed on the Pacific coast? Do they have a pesky skin that needs sloughing?
Exfoliation is an important grooming habit in the animal kingdom.
Male moose rub their antlers against trees and shrubs to get rid of this itchy, dry layer called velvet.
It looks gross, but it's an important stage in getting their antlers ready for mating battles.
Reptiles are also masters of exfoliation.
Lizards rub against rocks and branches to help peel dead skin off their bodies.
As reptiles grow, their skin doesn't, so it needs to come off to make room for the new skin. Sort of like when a human outgrows their clothes.
There are a number of animals that exfoliate. Are gray whales part of that club?
Is that why they're rubbing against the sandy sea bottom?
If we look closely from above, there's a big difference between what we see with these gray whales and the other animals.
There are no signs of skin peeling away, and so they're not exfoliating.
But there could be another clue in the footage. There are these clouds of mud surrounding the whale when it comes closer to the surface. Why is there so much dirt involved?
Are they taking a mud bath?
Perhaps another mammoth creature can unlock this mystery. Halfway across the world, in Botswana's Okavango Delta.
Those are some filthy elephants.
For elephants, mud is like a magic cream. The kind of lotion you'd pay top dollar for at a beauty store.
It's a bug spray, sunscreen, and cooling treatment, all rolled into one.
If an elephant wants to cool off, why doesn't it throw water on its back instead? You can see a puddle of water right there.
Mud keeps you cooler than just water does. When you have water, it just evaporates really quickly on its own. But when it's mixed with mud, that moisture evaporates much more slowly, so you cool for a longer period of time.
The layer of mud also prevents insects from biting and creates a physical barrier against the sun's harsh rays.
Mud does a lot of good for elephants, but do these same benefits apply to whales? Insects and staying cool don't seem like much of an issue underwater. And can whales even get a sunburn?
Whales spend a good chunk of time at the surface when they're socializing, feeding, and mating. And during those times, they are exposed to the sun's powerful UV rays.
About 15 years ago, researchers started to notice that some whales had blisters on their backs.
They took skin samples, and sure enough, they found sunburn cells, a type of cell that forms when DNA is damaged by UV.
So if the whales can get burnt, does rolling in sand offer protection?
Are they creating some sort of sand umbrella?
Looking at the video, you can see the whales don't hang around for long in the clouds they've stirred up, and the grains of sand aren't sticking to their skin. So this isn't a form of sun protection.
But maybe there's another clue in the footage.
After the whales create a sand cloud, they often come to the surface, and it looks like they're drooling.
Are the whales eating mud?
A visit to the coastal waters of Thailand may help solve that mystery, where a view from above the seafloor reveals another creature stirring up the sand.
Blue-spotted stingrays are gorgeous, but man, can they make a mess.
What is that stingray doing?
This is the definition of messy eating.
Blue-spotted stingrays hunt small bottom dwellers like shrimp and crabs.
They'll flap their wings over the sand to uncover hidden prey and use their mouth like a vacuum to suck it up.
All that flapping and sucking creates quite a stir. It looks a lot like the clouds of sand that the gray whales are kicking up.
Could we be watching a gray whale eat?
I've seen a lot of videos of whales feeding, but they never look like this.
All baleen whales filter food through their keratin bristles, but they don't all catch their food in the same way.
Some will take a huge gulp of prey-filled water. Others will swim at the surface with their jaws wide open. And this footage shows how gray whales feed on the seafloor.
This strange-looking behavior is actually a very ordinary part of a gray whale's life. It's how they eat.
Gray whales roll on their side and swim along the bottom with their mouth open. Then, they use their tongue to create suction, vacuuming up a bunch of sediment into their mouths. And that sediment contains crustaceans and other things they can eat, which they can filter out with their baleen.
Not only are we getting an amazing full picture view of this bottom feeding technique, drones are also revealing that gray whales are acrobats.
They do headstands. Look at that.
They plunge down head first, then root around in the sediment for food. And they can hold this position for up to 5 minutes.
No one knew this before. It's only because of a view from above that scientists have discovered this wild behavior.
This is just so fun. And it's amazing to me how much we still have to learn about the creatures we share our planet with.
In rural Clarksdale, Mississippi, a view from above reveals inexplicable damage to farmland.
So they look sort of like crop circles, but crop circles are supposed to be nice and symmetrical. These are a mess.
It doesn't look like it's being caused by weather, because otherwise the whole crop would be flattened. It's like something very specific has gone in and just taken out that bit of crop. So it's kind of a bit strange.
Drone footage reveals a wave of crop devastation in more than 35 states across the USA.
It's happening across every sector of agriculture, from corn rows and orchards to peanut farms and vineyards.
The damage mostly happens in the center of a huge area of land.
If the damage is in the middle of a field, do farmers even know what's happening?
Not always. It's only when the damage peaks near the edges of the field that food producers might realize something's going on.
It's only because we can see the scope of the damage from above that we know that this is a big problem.
What's causing these crops to be crushed and flattened?
Perhaps a clue can be unearthed just over 1,500 kilometers away on the outskirts of Newton, New Jersey.
In 2021, this 1,000-acre farm in northern New Jersey attracted media attention for its extraterrestrial crop circles.
Now, there are some people who do speculate that crop circles are caused by flying saucers landing on planet Earth.
This isn't really the work of an unknown species, is it?
No, these crop circles in New Jersey were actually created by black bears.
How are bears able to create crop circles?
Bears will sit down and drag ears of corn towards them with their paws.
And they will sometimes roll around and knock over husks to make it easier for their cubs to feed.
Does this explain the damage found in Mississippi and across other states?
Black bears can be a nuisance, and their numbers are increasing, but they don't really have the massive populations needed to wreak this kind of havoc on a nationwide scale.
What kind of invasive creature moves in a gigantic posse and is capable of this level of destruction?
There may be a hint around 13,000 kilometers away in the exotic plains of East Africa.
Between 2019 and 2022, thousands of hectares of crops and grasslands across East Africa were completely stripped by swarms of jumping desert locusts.
Now, these short-horned grasshopper-like fiends from the Acrodidae family are the most notorious villains of crop damage all over the world.
Could the damage across the USA be caused by invasive locust swarms?
Drones can easily spot a swarm of locusts, but that's not what they're seeing in rural America.
Oh, who is that? There's something moving around in the crop, but what is it?
When you take a closer look, it seems like something much bigger than an insect is uprooting the crops.
The soil is rampantly but methodically turned over.
There are trenches and holes.
Are those pigs? Oh, no. That's bad.
They're also known as feral swine, wild hogs, wild feral boars, and this is a dastardly species called Sus scroffa, and it is one of the most invasive terrestrial mammals on Earth.
They're highly social, intelligent animals that naturally form huge mobs known as sounders.
They can knock over stalks with their huge bodies and decimate an area half the size of a football field in a matter of hours.
How are this many pigs running loose across the country? They're not even native animals to the Americas.
There could be a clue from more than a century ago in Elizabeth Lake, California.
In 1889, you have licensed farms in Elizabeth Lake importing these large, semi-aquatic rodents from South America.
They're called nutria, and these robust, rat-like creatures were transported to farms all across the US so they could breed them and harvest their thick, soft fur.
By the mid-1900s, the fur industry crashed, and ranchers didn't have enough money to keep up with the nutria's voracious appetites.
What happens is that thousands of these hitherto fashionable rodents are then released into the wild. And what they end up doing is to make their homes across these marshes in at least 20 states.
Like nutria, were pigs discarded into the wild?
Pigs are not native to the US. They were imported by European explorers in the 1500s as a food source. But some of those pigs escaped from their enclosures.
That's what led to the very first establishment of a wild pig population.
Then, in about 1890, you have the Eurasian wild boar being brought over from the Black Forest region in Germany for game hunting.
Historically, there were no laws that prevented pigs from being captured and transported across state lines.
So for decades, wild boars have been taken back and forth across the country to various hunting reserves.
But as soon as they've been dropped off in one place, they found a way to scatter out to newer pastures.
Did domestic pigs and boars form bonds in the wild?
They did, and the result is super swine.
The feral animals we see today are actually a hybrid of domestic pigs and wild boars.
They have the smartness, aggression, adaptability, and wit of the boar.
And the ability to reproduce large litters and grow quickly like domestic pigs.
Females begin breeding at about 6 months old and can have up to 20 piglets every year.
The pig population is now estimated at almost 7 million and is rapidly expanding.
It's a huge issue. Swine are possibly one of the most dangerous animals in the wild.
Their saliva and feces can carry over 30 different known diseases that could contaminate water, could contaminate food, that could kill livestock, that could kill pets, and that could kill people.
We know that without a view from above, food producers can't always see if they have a pig problem or how much damage has occurred.
Which means they also have no idea what to expect in terms of losses.
How can we truly quantify the enormity of this issue?
There are answers in Texas, not far from Dallas, where scientists have used drones to monitor wild pig damage across 10 cornfields in Delta County.
The drones hovered at 100 meters above ground level during 4 different corn growth stages to watch how much damage the wild pigs did.
The damage was extensive, especially during the last 2 phases of the growth cycle because the crop had matured and could offer the pigs more nutrition.
Researchers combined the value of the destroyed crops plus collateral losses like destroyed fences and contaminated feed. They multiplied that by the affected states in the country, coming up with a price tag for the invasive pig problem.
We could be looking at as much as $2.5 billion lost every single year.
What you've got here, it's not a ticking time bomb, it's a ticking swine bomb.
Can they be lured into traps with bait?
Farmers have tried, but it's getting harder to bait pigs because after a while they become disinterested. There's too many other food sources for them to eat.
Trying to hunt them doesn't really help because the gunfire makes other pigs in the sounder flee from the area. So, what can be done?
In 2014, the United States Department of Agriculture created the National Feral Swine Damage Management Program.
People battling the pig problem can make a formal request for help.
Wildlife biologists and field specialists will come up with a plan to track and remove the swine from their properties.
One of the big challenges is actually finding these feral swine, because what they do is they roll around in wetlands and they hide sneakily under all this thick brush.
Feral swine don't move around too much in the daytime. They're more active at night and in the low light of early mornings.
To figure out where these hogs are holed up, wildlife biologists equip their drones with thermal cameras,
which can detect the heat signatures of the pigs' warm bodies in any lighting or weather conditions.
This gives wildlife biologists the greatest ability to track feral swine during times when they're most rampant.
Once those drones identify feral swine on the ground, wildlife biologists can record the GPS location and then relate those coordinates to an aerial team.
In open grassland areas, Skilled sharpshooters are able to take aim from a fixed winged aircraft or helicopter.
During the night or when overhead vegetation is too dense, sharpshooters are deployed on the ground to carry out controlled removals with firearms that have noise suppression devices.
Having an active drone in the field to track the pigs and communicate with the team gives them an eye in the sky at all times.
Which means those teams can eradicate more feral swine in 4 hours than farmers can manage by themselves in an entire year.
In at least one place, things are looking optimistic.
Feral pigs were first spotted in Arizona's Havasu National Wildlife Refuge in the 1950s. By 2006, there were hundreds of them. That's when wildlife officers launched an offensive. Now they're this close to claiming victory.
It is very possible wildlife biologists have removed the last of the feral swine from about 150 square kilometers of land.
They're using drones, helicopters, trail cameras, and hog dogs to continuously monitor the wilderness for any resurgence of feral activity.
When the refuge has been completely pig-free for about 2 years, then it's safe to say the pigs have been fully eradicated.
The progress at Havasu provides a glimmer of hope for those battling the pig plague across the country.
It's a long road ahead, but we do have some hope that that view from above will give us the upper hand in the fight against this invasive species.
I often find discussing the control of invasive species hard. On one hand, invasives like feral pigs cause huge amounts of damage to our ecosystems. This makes them really easy to vilify. But the truth is, feral pigs, just like other invasive species, are still living things, and at the end of the day, we humans put them here, causing the problem.
Palm Beach, Florida. A glitzy community that attracts those with refined taste, both on land and in the water.
Wow, that's a lot of sharks.
Every winter, thousands of black-tipped sharks flock to this coast for its warm water and abundant food. And a shocking view from above reveals they're not alone.
Well, there's no mistaking that shape. That's a hammerhead.
Hammerheads are known to hunt smaller sharks, but this drone footage has captured something bizarre that we've never seen before.
A hammerhead bursts into pursuit. It chases the blacktip with laser precision,
Separating it from the group, closing the gap, and then it suddenly backs off?
It bailed. Why?
Why would you do that? You had him.
The aerial footage shows that over and over, hammerheads are seconds from nabbing a blacktip when they suddenly turn away.
Now, what would make a skilled predator, like a hammerhead, pass on what appears to be an easy meal?
Could this be a case of mistaken identity? Maybe the hammerhead changes its mind. It's all excited to eat this smaller shark, and then it gets there and it realizes, wait, that's not what I wanted at all.
There may be a clue off the coast of California, where drone footage captures another fearsome predator in bustling water.
Sharks, and especially great whites, have this reputation for being blood-hungry killers that will eat anything in sight.
Hollywood might have you believe that all of these people are just moments from their tragic end, but when you look at the footage, you can see that that is not the case.
It seems like every day there's a new clip online that shows people in extremely close proximity to sharks, and they aren't getting attacked.
When you consider how many people are in the water and how much time we spend in shark habitats, the odds of an attack are extremely low. And a fatal attack is even less likely.
The odds of being killed by a shark are about 1 in 4 million. You are literally more likely to be killed by lightning or even fireworks.
When sharks do bite people, they often just leave superficial wounds, taking a bite or two, then swimming away.
What makes a shark abandon its attack?
One of the leading theories comes down to how sharks investigate their environment.
Sharks are known for their keen sense of smell. and for a highly sophisticated set of pores that help them detect the electrical fields of nearby prey. But they also explore their world in a simpler way, similar to what human toddlers do.
If a shark comes across something it's unfamiliar with, it'll use its mouth to try and learn more.
Sharks bite surfboards, buoys, small boats. They don't have hands to feel these things, so they use their mouths to try to figure out what it is and whether it's worth eating.
Now, if they do bite a human, they usually realize pretty quickly that we're bony, so not an ideal meal.
They want more bang for their buck. Fatty prey like seals that'll sustain them and provide them with more energy.
Even though movies make it seem like sharks will eat anything and everything, they're actually quite selective about their diet.
Is that what's happening here? Are these hammerhead sharks refusing a subpar meal? The view from above, below, offers a critical clue.
This footage was taken by a researcher from Florida Atlantic University. You can see that a hammerhead has caught a blacktip and is beginning to chow down.
It's tucking into its meal, and then all of a sudden, a bigger hammerhead shows up and steals it.
This jaw-dropping footage is proof that not only do hammerheads eat blacktips, they're clearly a highly prized meal.
If a hammerhead can catch a blacktip, it will. So the mystery remains, why are some hammerheads giving up when they're so close to victory?
Could the blacktips be fighting back in some way?
Animals have all sorts of amazing chemical defense mechanisms that they can use when threatened.
One of the most classic examples is an octopus shooting ink to scare and distract its predators.
And a more obscure, yet equally astounding spectacle belongs to a creature no bigger than a quarter.
Bombardier beetles fling burning acid out of their abdomens to fend off attackers.
Are these blacktips unleashing their own secret weapon?
Looking at the drone footage, you can't see anything obvious. But not all chemical defense tactics are visible to the naked eye.
Are blacktips like superheroes, rocking some kind of invisible shield of defense?
There could be a clue more than 17,000 kilometers away in the dense forests of Java, where a highly venomous creature lurks in the shadows.
Well, that's the cutest thing I've ever seen.
You want me to believe that this adorable little ball of fur is dangerous?
Don't be fooled by those sweet giant eyes. The slow loris is the only venomous primate on the planet.
When a slow loris feels threatened, it will raise its arms in an alarm pose. It may look like it's surrendering, but it's actually getting in position to lick toxic oil from a gland near its elbow.
And when the oil mixes with the loris's saliva, it becomes venomous.
Most of the time, that venom is delivered when a slow loris bites their enemy. But researchers have also seen a mother slow loris licking her young to put that venom on them for added protection.
You can't see the venom, but it's there.
Could that be what's happening in Florida, too? Are these blacktips equipped with an invisible yet highly effective layer of protection?
The short answer is no. But chemical defense is just one form of protection. Blacktips could be employing something else.
Animals have a bunch of tricks to evade predators, and one of the most common strategies is to run like hell.
I've seen animals run from predators, and it doesn't always end up well for them. Is a mad dash really the best defense strategy?
There may be a clue on the riverbanks of South America, where the world's largest rodent is constantly on high alert.
Capybaras are massive. They can weigh more than 150 pounds.
But just because they're big, it doesn't mean they're safe. There's an even bigger predator skulking nearby.
Jaguars are the apex predator around here, and capybaras are one of their favorite dishes.
Capybaras are well aware that there's a target on their back, and if they detect danger, they sound an alarm call. It's like they're telling their friends, get ready to run.
But why are capybaras running into water? I mean, I thought jaguars could swim.
Jaguars can swim, but not nearly as well as capybaras.
Capybaras can stay underwater for 5 minutes at a time, and just like a hippo, They have their eyes and their ears and their nostrils at the top of the head, so they can just boop, come up out of the water, check if the coast is clear, and go back down if it isn't.
Capybaras aren't just running to escape being eaten. They're running and hiding. The water is their safety zone.
Are these blacktips using their own life-saving escape route?
When you look at the drone footage, it's clear that they're swimming towards shore, so is that their safe haven?
Blacktips are smaller than hammerheads, so it would make sense for them to head for shallow water.
We've all heard of beached whales, so we know large marine creatures can die if they get stranded in shallow water. Is that why hammerheads are backing off the hunt?
Perhaps there's a clue nearly 8,000 kilometers away, on the shores of Argentina's Valdez Peninsula.
This is the location of one of the most shocking hunting spectacles in the animal kingdom.
In the spring, the shoreline is filled with baby sea lions that are just learning how to swim. And in the water, orcas gather to feast.
They launch themselves ashore in this massive display of power.
These animals can weigh more than 5 tons, and they're ramming their huge bodies up on the beach.
That's gotta be dangerous for the orcas. How do they get back into the water?
It's an incredibly risky move, but orcas have perfected a technique to make sure they don't get stuck on shore.
These orcas only hunt when the tide and the wind conditions are just right. And after they've rushed the shore, they contort their bodies in this wiggling motion so that when the next wave comes in, they can use it to get back into that deep water.
It's a hunting technique known as strand feeding. It's incredibly rare, but there are a few other species that do it too.
In South Carolina, bottlenose dolphins herd schools of fish toward the shore, and then they push their bodies onto the sand to trap the fish and chow down.
So maybe shallow water isn't that safe. Can hammerheads chase their prey onto the shore? And if so, why aren't they doing it here?
There's one big difference between the animals that strand feed and the sharks. It's a rib cage.
When they launch ashore, their rib cage protects their vital organs. And it also gives them the structure they need to kind of wiggle back into the water.
Sharks don't even have bones, they have cartilage. It's soft, it's flexible, it's great for swimming, but it's not very useful on land.
If they were to launch ashore, the weight of their body would crush their organs and they would die.
Hammerheads can't follow the blacktips into the shallow water. Their anatomy won't let them.
The hammerhead's Achilles heel is the blacktip's saving grace.
Blacktips are surviving predation by seeking refuge in shallow water.
Scientists have looked at this drone footage and they figured that at the depth where a hammerhead's dorsal fin or tail fin come up out of the water, that's where its ability to swim gets hampered. It just can't risk going any closer to the shore, so it makes a call to bail and turn away.
It's pretty amazing what a view from above can teach us. I mean, sharks are apex predators, but they aren't ruthless killers, and even they can be outmaneuvered. I think this story is a win for the little guy, or the little sharks.
From a hypnotic swirl for survival and a surprising dining strategy to a glowing view of an invader and a mad dash for safety.
A view from above shows us so much about the remarkable lives of animals. We always knew they were magnificent, and this vantage point just makes us appreciate them even more.